Hello, everybody. To return to this type of content for a little bit. This is when there's gonna be something that's more, I guess, urgent or more like, like breaking news. This is probably the format that you'll see me use. So don't worry, edited content. If you really like the last edited videos that I've put out, they're not done yet. Don't worry. I hadn't edited content in a while, so that last one took a little bit out of me. But, I think that I will be returning to that for quite some time. Maybe if the content starts, popping off a little bit, start to make some money off of it, I could probably hire an editor, because frankly speaking, that'd probably be better. I'm just like editing content, but like, wow, I'm really slow at editing. But yeah, that's besides the point. Change the layout a little bit for the video, so I guess if it looks a little funky, you could tell me and I could swap it back over. Don't think there's too much else to say. Thank you guys for the support as usual. And let's just jump into today's topic, because this is a little loud. Give me a second. That's a little less like ear piercing for me, at least personally. I don't know if it's too quiet for you guys now, but whatever. You guys will live. I could put in music via post, but that makes more editing, which very easy editing. But I'd rather just do this. Okay. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about the Blue Archive Gacha changes. And, I guess we could talk about the anniversary in general. I think these are probably the same things, the 100 heroes. This is just them doubling the pickup rate during the actual anniversary. Chuck is the... what's it called? The freebie. I thought at first she wasn't even in the group at all. Okay. Yeah, the units, if you care to know, are... Chiaki is the welfare unit. You will get her for free just by starting the event, probably, like, as per usual. Makoto will be the... and Satsuki, both of them are the free 100, like, pull unit characters. They're going to be the pre-Annie characters. Still limited, but they're not the actual, like, fest units, the gacha, like the anniversary units. The anniversary units are Iroha and Ibuki. And, I guess to some degree I'm thankful that Chiaki is free, since I like Chiaki quite a bit. Don't feel really strongly about Ibuki. I know this is probably shocking to some people. I don't really like Makoto all that much, and Satsuki is just really one-dimensional to the point that I kind of don't really care about her. Which is weird, because Chiaki is also kind of one-note too, but, like, I don't know, at least she's... I don't know how to describe it, she's less annoying. Satsuki isn't annoying, but she's kind of forgettable to me. Iroha, on the other hand, I do like Iroha. She was one of the first characters I pulled, so, maybe a bit of, like... What is the word? Imprinting, like the thing that animals do. But, yeah. I had this tweet open because it's, I guess, more condensed about what we're actually going to be looking at. You could give your thoughts on the actual anniversary characters. I believe we're also going to be getting, I believe it's a main story chapter finally dedicated to Gehenna, so that's cool. Gehenna probably was the one that was in some of the highest needs for actually having a story chapter, because as much as I like Hina, Hina basically being the only story point for Gehenna is probably not a good thing. But yeah, we'll look at some of the comments for... I'll probably look at the comments soon for Twitter, because this is like... Twitter is like the place you're most likely to get like content that I can't show on YouTube or Twitch, so... We are going to be looking at that new gacha system, so maybe I should create a section here for... I'm stupid. Let's do this. Old Blue Archive system. This is probably a bit necessary for people who don't play Blue Archive and want to know what all the hubbub is. This is the best way I could put it. The old Blue Archive system was a Spark-based system. For those who don't know what Sparks are, basically, you effectively... one roll equals to... I guess it's this. When you spark a unit, you spend 200 sparks. So I'm gonna equate it to a spark. One roll equals to a spark. Collect a certain amount, and then you can spend to get the actual gacha character. For Blue Archive, it's like 200, I believe. I know it's 200. You spend 200. There are other games that have different amounts. So, for example, I think Princess Connect had it at 300. The one I know it's at 300 is GBF. I'm pretty sure it's at 300. GBF is like one of the originators for the system to begin with, though, so I think they might be the originator, but yeah. To spark in certain games is more difficult. To spark... like, spark in these games is like more difficult. There's also one thing to note. Sparks don't carry over. Which is why there's a certain game which I'm going to mention in this section over here with the other gacha systems we'll look at, where they're not a spark system, even if some people might say it. They're not. Some people might already know what I'm talking about off of that alone, but yeah, sparks don't carry over. In Blue Archive, sparks get converted to some material that, like, it's for, like, crafting. Which doesn't really matter. So that's it. That's the general idea. But the problem is that isn't really giving you the full picture. Just so you know, that's the backbone of the system. The backbone of the system is Spark-based. Is a Spark-based system. For games like Genshin and that, we'll talk again more about those later. But or maybe it'd be better to just talk about it now. I guess let's just shift this up. Let's put it here. Let me finish with Blue Archive system first, though. Blue Archive, you usually get... how do I phrase this? So, I mean, actually, it says it right over here in this picture over here. Blue Archive only has a 3% rate to get an SSR. That's fairly high, all things considered. For comparison... I believe Genshin's at 0.8, isn't it? Wait, is it really that? Is it really 0.6? It's from the wiki, so that's true. Well, what does this mean? Average rate versus... oh, this is actually just confusing me. I always thought it was like 0.8. Ah. Okay. So it is 0.6 for like majority of the thing, and then like eventually it starts to like multiply towards like the 70-ish range. And eventually then you get to like 100%. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I was right, but like it was even worse. Genshin, and I'm not gonna look it up. I imagine the other Hoyo-based gachas. They start at 0.6% gacha and ramp up with pity. I believe Nikkei is also 3. No, it's even higher. It's 4%. Yeah, it's 4%. That's even higher. Okay. Nikkei is at 4%, no ramp. Fade is at 1%, no ramp. I'm not taking into account for the record any 50-50 or anything like that. That's besides the point for now. This is just flat gacha rates. I think Wuwo is probably going to be the same thing, right? That can't be right. Okay, what's the it's 0.8. Okay, Wuwo is 0.8 then. Okay, Wuwo is 0.8. I imagine probably his ramp. I should also write. Pity is at 90. Pity is at 80. Pity is at 300. Ignore the huge amount. I guess I could put like 990 quartz, right? I think that's like the literal exact amount. I don't know. I think that's 300 though, isn't it? No pity. There's just no pity. Nika doesn't have a pity. He has a better rape and no pity. So, are there any other gachas I'm forgetting? I'm not gonna go for Enfield or anything like that because Enfield's kind of just a mess, but that's besides the point. Those are the main gacha games I think we could probably talk about. GFL might be a good idea. I don't know, maybe. That's GFL 1. I don't know for GFL 2 gacha rates. 1.5%. Is that really it? That's a pretty high rate. This is for the CBT. Okay, we'll ignore GFL. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I got the general idea of what I wanted to. Okay, so we have all the rates here. Notably, again, Blue Archive is the second highest rate out of all of these if you ignore the ramp. So if you take into account for a ramp, these are probably going to be higher, but like that's requires you to be in your pity to begin with. Whereas Blue Archives is just sitting at a good 3%. I do have to make a point though, no pity. So now Genshin fans and even maybe Fate fans, maybe Wolf fans will probably make the point. Nikki and Blue Archive having no pity probably is really bad, right? So of note, Sparks basically serve the role. That's not how you spell that. The role of pity. If you can, and it's not if you can. Hitting 200 sparks is basically the same as hitting pity. However, it doesn't carry over. And for Nikkei, no spark system. Instead, we have mileage tickets. Gold mileage works the same as a spark, but it does carry over. You can roll 200 times on a banner, get the character, and then save those 200 mileage for the next banner. So, with all this being said, the systems over here, you might get some preconceptions about what is the worst and what is the best. I think generally speaking, what feels the worst and what is mathematically the worst are kind of different things here. For example, I have a really bad luck in Wua, but like I know mathematically it's not actually the worst. If we're looking at mathematically the worst, I imagine this is mathematically the worst one. This still sucks. A bit better due to, I mean, I'm not including pool economy, but like it does a better pool economy. But it's mainly because due to weapon banner not being 50-50. Or 75-25. Now, what about Blue Archive? So, this one, in its current state, is hard to evaluate. When you are lucky, getting the character is pretty normal early on. Many will get a fest character in like a poll or two, but then you have situations where someone on Twitter is probably polling like 400 times, getting no fest units. And that's when there's a 6% in effect for all intents and purposes. You can get pretty unlucky. So, de facto best gacha to roll in. Taking only the system into account, it's pretty clear Nikkei is the actual winner. No guarantee for a 50-50 loss, but mileage carrying over in the way it does with such high rates generally means you can get most of what you want. Now, that's basically all I can say about the systems before we just jump into what's being said here. I don't even know if this is the negative reviews, the review bombing. Okay. So, starting July 29th, there's a new summon system. You were guaranteed a 3-star at 100 polls. I believe this was already kinda in here. I believe. At least from what I understand, how do I phrase it? You're guaranteed something within at least 10 rolls in the current system, so I don't know how new that is. But yes, you got a guaranteed 3-star, and it's a 50-50 if it's the one you want. At 200, it's will be the banner character. So the new system is basically Genshin, HSR, ZZZ, UVA, and the rest of the standard modern gachas. There's obviously exceptions. Some might point out NTs, the modern gacha. I get the point. You know what I'm trying to say. So, listen, because this person, I believe, points out some stuff here. There's no spark system anymore, if that wasn't clear. I don't know how they're going to accommodate for the currency, because I did some crafting, didn't matter, but, like, if you want to gift your characters things, you kind of need those. So, yeah. Yeah, this is the big note. If you only need one rate-up character, then it's probably going to be better. If you need both, then it is worse. That is to say, if at the point, the example that most people give is, let's say you roll 100 times. Like, let's go with the new system. I roll 100 times. I lose the 50-50. Then I roll 100 more times, and then I win the 50-50 because it's guaranteed. I would need to start from 0 and roll 200 more times to guarantee getting the next character, the other character on the banner, because there's usually 2 banners running concurrently for Anniversary. And a lot of the summers too. But, yeah, in that situation, I'd have to roll 400 times in the worst case scenario. People are generally comparing it to what isn't fair, because the worst case scenario is also 400 for the other side of the argument, the old system. But when you look at the old system, the real reason that people are molding is because if you rolled 190 times and managed to get a character, look, let's say I rolled 190 times and then I got Makoto, well, then I could just roll one more time on the Satsuki banner, and even if I don't get Satsuki, I could just use the Spark on Satsuki. Which is to say, if you get lucky, you are greatly benefited by the old system, whereas if you're lucky, you don't get any benefits in the new one. And because the rates are better in Blue Archive, getting lucky isn't that weird. So yes, when generally speaking, especially with anniversaries, which are the most important banners in this game, like by far, it's just so much worse with the new system comparatively to the old one. I will say one thing that seems to be of note, because I was unsure of this. Raid does seem like pity carries over, so there is that, I suppose, which is a benefit. But they, well, let's start writing a little bit on one character banners. The new Prowl is better. Guarantees and such. Pity carries between banners, even if limiteds have a separate carrying pity. Now let's look at the cons. If you get lucky at 190, you are punished when you used to be rewarded with a free pity for the other banner. 2 character banners. You, in the worst case, have to roll 400 times. That was kind of the case before, but this is somehow worse. So, yeah. I don't know if there's anything else that I need to point out, like as a little note. Yeah, generally speaking, I think the last point is like kind of odd because I think in the worst case you do kind of have the same situation. But if you get screwed over, whoops, if you get screwed over, you get screwed over like really badly. Because needing to actually like go for 400 if you get screwed over, just if it hurts. Again, if you got lucky on 190, you get the perfect situation where you would just spark regardless. And I think especially with the banner that we're having to deal with, that's gonna hurt a lot because 100 free pulls, and if you don't get lucky at all, that kind of stings. Because if you get like 100 and you get like, you get no Satsuki and then you roll like 90 times and you get a Satsuki, you have to restart, so. And obviously people are pointing out that an EA former exec is now like with Nexon, they're blaming that dude, so. Yeah. This overall just is quite unfortunate. Generally speaking, I will also suggest if you don't like the gacha system, just, you know, actually, you know, like, I don't know where my translate function is, send a ticket. Generally speaking, my thoughts. This sucks. Mainly because of that 190 situation. Happens to me quite a bit. So that sucks. And then on top of that, this is probably my biggest point. It hurts to see them make a gacha system change only to shift to one that people hate rather than, I'll even put in parentheses. Oyo/Uwa. Rather than the one that seems to have very little issues. Nikkei. I think that's probably the one that hurts the most, is that rather than change the whole system to match a game that's, you know, there are issues with Nikkei. Like, there are some very big issues with Nikkei. I think a lot of the anime designs of the games are pretty bad. And I think that some things like the 1% like Pilgrim like summer banners are like terrible. Like Cinderella and Dora, those are bad ideas that we're just gonna have to live with now. And gacha skins in this game are also terrible. $60 for gacha skins is terrible. I have some of them, sure, but like I have like 2 of them, I think. But like it's still bad. It's terrible. That is yucky. But at the same time, the actual base gacha system for the game is just better, so I don't fully understand the idea behind why they would change the system to one more controversial, rather than change the system to the one that seems to be popular with their that their Korean compatriot has also created. Nikke is not perfect, but their gacha system is better than virtually every game here. I'm sure there's other gachas that have better systems if you probably put your mind to it, but at least from my perspective, from what I play, Nikke seems like a good opportunity, and I don't know why they just kind of ignored it. But, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's just very, very unfortunate. Yeah, I don't really have too much to say. Send your complaints. Hopefully they'll change it. It's crazy because everything else in the anime was good news, but that banner system change was just a bad idea. That's about it, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.